We offer a heartfelt welcome to our community center. This is ISKCON of Silicon Valley, part of a network of organizations all over the world. Actually, it's one organization with many branches on every continent, including Antarctica. And the founder of our organization is His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who you see on this ornate seat called the Vyasasana. And this is the seat, asana, of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is known as a representative of God who brings the knowledge of how to reach God. And there's a line of teachers coming from the beginning of the creation of this universe. And each one of them carries forward the message to the next generation to give opportunity to those who are eager to come out of the darkness of the material world. In fact, one of the main directives of the ancient literatures in the Vedas is tamasima jyotirgamai. Don't stay in the darkness, but come towards the light. So in a very general way, the human spirit wants to experience freedom and to see the light, the free light of the spiritual world. And there's a process to attain that. And that is a process given by Krishna, name for God, himself at the beginning of this world, or the creation of the world, so that everyone has an opportunity to improve him or herself and come to the level of what's called Krishna consciousness, or complete awareness of our relationship with God. In darkness, or in separation from that relationship, we experience darkness. And we become involved in an alternative world, which is sometimes referred to as the material world, where we are subjected to the laws of nature. Most obvious are birth. We didn't ask to be born. We were compelled by our previous activities to take a birth. Then there's disease. Nobody likes to get sick. In fact, we spend much of our lives trying to avoid that. And then there's old age, which comes of its own accord, and then, of course, death. And in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the prime text, a summary of all the teachings of the Vedas, all in one book with 700 verses, which was spoken directly by Krishna about 5,000 years ago. He mentions the anomalies of the material world, janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshana darshanam. So the material world has these faults. And one might ask, is there a root cause of all suffering? That would be nice to know, because then if we could identify what that is, we could perhaps find the remedy for it. Oftentimes we find that when we don't feel well and we go for help, diagnosis doesn't necessarily come easily. Sometimes people don't feel well, but they don't know why, and nor do the medical professionals who look at us. They might not be able to say. But when they do diagnose, and then they say, not only can we diagnose, but we also have the cure, the remedy. That's a bright moment, isn't it? If you've ever had that experience and generally speaking, anybody with a material body has had this experience, that something goes awry and you're in some kind of discomfort, and then you go to various health professionals, and some have theories, but they're not quite sure. But then when you meet one who says, no, I know what it is, and I'm very sure I can cure this, it's a bright day, because you know you found the right person, and the person has the cure. What if there was a way to cure all the anomalies of life? There was a root cause that one could identify, and there was a remedy for it that's available. That would certainly be a bright day. In this regard, one of the great teachers of the tradition of Bhakti Yoga, in fact, the one who brought it to the world most prominently, is known as an incarnation of Krishna, or Krishna himself, who appears after he appeared 5,000 years ago in the Kali Yuga. We're in a particular age right now where spiritual life is often confusing for people because so many different opinions, and what's more, we're busy. And because of being confused about which path to take, and also being busy with lots of other things, it's very difficult for many people to take up a spiritual practice. So Krishna comes near the beginning of Kali Yuga, this particular age, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he gives the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita again, and he shows how to follow them in the present age. And he gives a prescription. And in talking about the way one might feel when one comes in contact with a doctor who knows the cause of our suffering and also has the medicine at hand, in fact, in a little black bag. Doctors carry a little black bag. He told a story to one of his students that once there was a man who was suffering because he didn't have any means, nor did he have any prospect to have means in life. And his life was gloomy. And in a depressed state, he didn't know what to do. But one day he met an astrologer who was world-renowned. And in those days of yore, oftentimes those who were educated in various sciences like astrology would go from town to town and offer their services for free. So he met such an astrologer who was expert. He did special pujas every day, meaning he studied the science deeply, and he also kept his intelligence very sharp so he could intuit what he was reading in the stars, the chart of any person. So he became known as an all-knowing astrologer. And this poor man, upon meeting the astrologer passing through his town, inquired from him why he was suffering. So the astrologer, using all his techniques, looked deeply into the man's chart and the way he was being affected by the modalities of the world. And, of course, the poor man was hovering over him, just eager that somebody had taken his case. That's nice, too, when you finally find somebody who's interested in your case and will take it. It's like, I'm in a bad way, and you meet somebody that says, I'm going to help you. That's encouraging. But you still might wonder, can this person help me? So in that sort of anticipation, the poor man was watching the astrologer doing computations, reading the stars, seeing their relationship. And when he put down his writing instrument, he looked up and said, I have good news for you. You're not poor. And hearing those words, that one sentence, the man's countenance changed, and he thought his worldview changed suddenly. He wanted to hear more. And the astrologer told him that, according to my computations, which are never wrong, you are estranged from your father. He died in a distant place, and although you've had no contact with him, he was a very wealthy man. And he left you his entire fortune. Now the poor man, hearing this, previously he was a little slumped over, shoulders starting to fold inward. But now his posture changed. His feeling about life changed. He was cheery. And Chaitanya, who was teaching his student, but through this story said, how long does it take for a poor person who finds out that he or she is actually rich to change their mind about life? And he said it doesn't take any time at all. All you have to do is hear the sentence and you're relieved. But the astrologer went on from there and he said, I can pinpoint where he left the treasure. In those days, because they were the days of yore, it was not digital money, but there was actual gold and jewels. And he said, it's buried. And it's not far from you right now. It's just in your backyard. He said, there's a way to dig for it that you'll get it immediately. And he told him the ways that he could dig for the treasure and retrieve it. Now, this is a metaphor or an analogy that Chaitanya gave to his student, which indicates how quickly we can revive our attitude about life when we hear what the cause of our suffering is and how to alleviate it. And that our prospects are better than good, they're great. So this goes to the teaching of Bhakti Yoga, which is that each one of us is related to Krishna. And Krishna is a name for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedas say, Janmadyasa yataha. Everything comes from one divine source, and that includes us. And that we're part of that divine source, but we have a relationship with our source. And as it turns out from the ancient wisdom literatures like Sri Upanishad, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a person, or I should say, our divine origin is personal. And we have a relationship with that person, as is mentioned in the Sri Brahma Samhita. Sanitya nitya sambandha prakritischa paraivasa. It's a very intimate connection. As if we have a loving, eternal relationship with that person who is also known, you'll be glad to know, in the Bhagavad Gita, as he says himself in his own words, that I am your suhrit. I am your best friend and best well-wisher. Now, Krishna is not an ordinary friend. There are many kinds of friends we can have in this world. I know that companies often advertise that they want to be our friends. United claims to fly the friendly skies. And they do try to maintain a friendly countenance when you fly on United. But if you don't pay them, that friendship is short-lived. And there are other kinds of friends in this world who are true blue friends, but things can change. Sometimes even family members where there's deep friendships, and relationships can change over inheritances. I've heard many times that someone in the family gets left out of the inheritance, and then there's a sense of enmity, and what was friendship before then becomes a contentious relationship. And so, friendships in this world, although very desirable, can change, and they can also come and go. We can have friendships and we can lose them. But Krishna is eternal, and we're eternal, and our friendship with him is eternal. And it's only to be discovered. So Chaitanya said, that's our great wealth, that we're in a very deep, eternal relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's the most beautiful person. He's the wealthiest. He's all-powerful. He's funny. He has control over everything in the universe. As he himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, that Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, I control and own everything. Who wouldn't want to have a friend like that? And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the process of Krishna consciousness is to revive that eternal relationship that we've forgotten about. And another story that comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 87 of the 10th canto. The Vedas, which have many branches, are also personified. That's why that chapter is called Prayers by the Personified Vedas. Wouldn't you like to meet one of them? Next week, one of them will be given class. Everyone should show up. So they give their viewpoints from their particular section of the Vedas. And one of them tells about our relationship with Krishna with another story, which is similar. Or as they say in Thailand, same, but different. And that is that there was another poor man leaning on a fence post, wondering what he was going to do with his life because he couldn't get anything together. And he felt a victim that he didn't have anything in this life. When a passerby stopped to engage him in conversation, it was probably Krishna Saka on traveling sankirtan in somewhere like Montana, and asked him why he was leaning against the fence post and why he looked so glum. And during that conversation, while the man was singing his tale of woe, weal and woe, had a tale of weal and woe, and doesn't everybody in this world? Do you know what weal and woe is? You better look it up. Weal is spelled W-E-A-L, and woe is spelled W-O-E. Weal and woe. Everyone has a tale of weal and woe, so much so that Srimad Bhagavatam says there are many types of oceans in this universe. There's one specific ocean in this universe that you may not have heard about, but it's an ocean of tears. And where do they come from? The feeling of weal and woe within the heart of every living being. Everyone has something to lament here, something lost, a loved one, lost property, or feeling victimized in life. And from the crying of every living being in this world, even animals cry. All those tears accumulated form an ocean. So that's how that man felt, leaning against the fence post till he met Krishna Saka. And then Krishna Saka, in his normal jovial way, pointed out or noticed around the man's neck was the top of a necklace. And he thought, that doesn't seem to match the rest of his disheveled look. After all, the man was grubby, unkempt, his clothes shabby, and definitely his countenance was downcast. And when Krishnasaka asked him, "Oh, what's that around your neck?" the man seemed surprised. "What around my neck?" And then he reached for what Krishnasaka pointed to, and he pulled out a necklace. And at the end of the necklace was a jewel that was so bright that Krishnasaka had to cover his eyes. It was so effulgent. And asked, "What is that jewel? I've never seen anything like it." And then the man remembered, "I received this jewel many, many years ago as a family heirloom passed down to me from my family, and they told me it was of inestimable value. And all this time it was around my neck, and I was going on with my life, absorbed in wheel and woe because I couldn't ever get ahead. And I forgot that this had been bequeathed to me all those years ago." So the personified Veda said, this is the situation of every one of us. We are literally the same in quality with God. God is eternal. He's all-knowing, and we have the similar qualities, only in minute quantity. But our greatest asset is that we have an eternal relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How far away is it? The Sri Upanishad says, "Tadejati tanaijati, tadure tadvantike, tarantarasya sarvasya, tarusar sarvasya bhayataha." The Lord is very near as well, but for those who have forgotten, He's very far away. They cannot conceive how far away, they can't even conceive of God at all. But He's so near to us that He's next to us in our heart. You can't get any closer. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the process of Bhakti Yoga is simple. It can be enacted within a moment just by hearing that we have a relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's our ever well-wisher and our friend. He's already there within our heart. And then he began to tell the process of Bhakti Yoga and how anyone from any position in life can take it up. He described that the reason that we suffer is when we forget God, there's a darkness that envelops our life. And we've had experience of this just in this life. What is weal and woe? This could be intense, so brace yourselves. They don't even want to give us a microphone because they're afraid of how intense this definition may be. They're doing this for effect.
Weal and woe is an English idiom meaning prosperity and adversity. Weal refers to a state of well-being, prosperity, or the common good, coming from Old English weal, and wella, meaning wealth, worldly riches, and later welfare, well-being. Woe refers to great distress, sorrow, or calamity, originating from the Old English exclamation, wa or way, a common expression of lament.
Of lament. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described in the Sanskrit language as bhoga tyaga. That we get something with our hard work, and there's an idea that we're going to enjoy it, but the idea and the real enjoyment comes 2 seconds before we get it. But as soon as we get it, we start lamenting. And then we move back into tyaga. We want to give it up and try to find something else. So Mahaprabhu Chaitanya taught that there is a process through which we can rediscover our relationship with Krishna. And he also said there are practical ways to understand why we're suffering there is a root cause for all suffering, and there's a way to alleviate that suffering permanently and completely and immediately. But since we've run out of time, I won't be able to discuss it in this talk. Thank you. Should I continue? Yes. All right. So, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught to his student, Rupa Goswami, the main cause of our suffering, or the root cause of all suffering, is because of karmic reactions that we're getting for being out of harmony. Now, I was beginning to speak about disharmony and the darkness it causes, or a disconnection with Krishna. We can experience in this world, if you've ever been in a situation where you ignored somebody or somebody ignored you. Even in fleeting instances, in my neighborhood in Burlingame, people sometimes walk down the sidewalk, and it's a very narrow sidewalk, so if you happen to pass somebody going the other direction, you have a choice to make. Will you look up and make eye contact with that person? Yes or no? Yes. Really? Okay. Did you ever give it a second thought that maybe I'll look down and I won't look? Yes. Have you ever been in an elevator and there was only one other person in it with? And did you have to decide, am I going to look up and say hi or look down like this? Consciousness is that which cannot be denied. Because even denial is an act of consciousness. And God cannot be denied. Now, when we deny or we neglect or we ignore another living being, a kind of darkness envelops us. When you stand in an elevator car and you're unsure, so you don't look up, and you know there's presence of another soul there, and you don't look up, this kind of darkness comes in. Or when you pass somebody and you pretend they're not there, you look down, or you look the other way. Or what to speak of, if you've ever been with somebody that you live with, and then one of you decides that he or she's not going to talk to the other one. Have you ever heard of that before? Even for 5 minutes, everything's suspended. There's a paralysis in the environment. Like, such and such is not talking to me. Or I've heard many times in families, oh, I haven't talked to my brother in 20 years, somebody says. And how do they feel? Suspended. There's a patch of darkness within their heart because of ignorance. Ignorance means ignorance. You ignore that which is real. And that's the condition of the whole material world. The material world is an emanation from Krishna. Krishna is directly within our heart. But I'm do. Whatever I can do, I invent a game where a man gets a flat stick, a stick with a flat part at the bottom. And then we'll come up with some kind of rubber ball. And then we'll have the other guy heave it at the other guy. And then see how far he can hit it. And then run around. And we'll throw in a uniform and then advertise it on TV. And people will come from miles around. Do. Ernest Becker, psychologist, wrote a book called Denial of Death. He's a psychologist. His theory, which he goes about proving throughout his book, is that all of the human activities are generally devices by which humans can forget about death, forget about the dark patch in life, and try to gloss it over with some instant stimulation, running around a base pad, hitting a ball with a stick, everyone cheering when it goes over a completely fabricated boundary. Who decided that it's going to be that far away? Actually, I shouldn't talk about cricket like this. It's highly offensive. And it's deeply hurtful. And I wish you would stop doing it, Vaisesika. I mean, what if we talked about baseball that way? Same thing. It's all made up. It's a big farce, the whole thing. And so is all the other goings on in the world. Unless there's some connection to the Supreme, there's a darkness that envelops the world. And in that darkness, we forget about what's right and wrong. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there is a right, there is a wrong. Wrong means you're going towards the darkness. Right means you're going towards the light, which is Krishna. And when you go towards darkness, then there's repercussion. Your consciousness becomes dark. And there's dark ways in which you relate to other people. Heartless ways. And what about animals? How could one even think of harming an animal when one would think that there's a divine soul within and God's there next to him within his heart? Therefore, in the Sri Upanishad it said, Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani vanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam. That when one becomes aware of God, is looking towards the light and seeing God's within everyone's heart, and every relationship and every living being has a relationship with God and with me, then I don't hate anything or any being. What's more, I show respect everywhere. And when I don't show respect, when I ignore what is reality, and when that darkness comes in, I do things which causes more darkness in my life. Some people call it sin. We call it vikarma, or missteps that entangle us more and more in darkness. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in teaching Rupa Goswami, said, as soon as you turn towards the light, then the darkness goes away. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andhakara. He said, ignorance is darkness, and Krishna is light. And when you turn toward Krishna, then the darkness goes away immediately. And the reactions to activities done in darkness, which cause more reactions, called karmic reactions, become so plentiful, not a good word, become so numerous that we can't experience them all in one lifetime, and they're carried over to the next lifetime, next lifetime, next lifetime. And this has been going on since a time immemorial. And it's a process of suffering from one body to the next. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this chain of suffering caused by these reactions to ignorance can be immediately stopped by taking to the light. It means turning towards Krishna in what's called devotional service. And he quoted from the most valuable book for those who are eager to come into the light, called Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the book that points us directly to Krishna. And there, he gave a verse, Pada pankacha palasa vilasya bhakta karmashrayam gratitnu ukratayanti santa tadvanda rikta matayo yatayo pirudha shroto ganas tamaranam bhajavasudevam. That when we try independently to hold back the reactions to our previous activities that were done in darkness, in ignorance, we can do it for a while, but sooner or later they'll become like a wave that carries us away. We'll go back to what we were doing before. But when we turn directly to Krishna, which is what Bhakti Yoga is, Bhakti Yoga means to go back to our original source and to become fully aware that we have a relationship with our original source, who is Krishna. And we begin the process of bhakti yoga by hearing about Krishna and chanting about Krishna. That brings the light directly into our heart. And therefore, he said, that light that comes directly into our heart has the power to sever the knot. It's a mixed metaphor, but the fact is that we have a knot in our heart, which is all of the previous ways that we've been confounded by the material world and acted in a wrong-headed way that have formed this convoluted mass in our heart. And all of that can be destroyed by the direct process of Krishna consciousness. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this is why when you take to the process of bhakti yoga and the reactions to previous activities known as sin or karmic reaction are immediately destroyed. And therefore you feel relief because you're no longer under the pressure of those previous sinful reactions in your heart. They're alleviated immediately by the process of bhakti yoga. And therefore, the first symptom of those who take to the path of bhakti is freedom from distress. Because we know what the root cause of distress is, and it can be alleviated immediately by bhakti. And the most available process is what's called sankirtan. The process of sankirtan means that you remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna by chanting his names. What's more, the name of Krishna is exactly the same as Krishna. There's no difference. Actually, there is a difference. If I may contradict myself mid-sentence. In the teachings of the primary disciple of Chaitanya, he gave a poem in which he said, okay, there's no difference between Krishna and his name. No, but there is a difference. He says that. The difference is only that the name of Krishna is more merciful than Krishna himself, even though they're the same. Because if someone has been enveloped by darkness, having forgotten Krishna, and is so far afield from Krishna in any of the ways that one could be in contact with him, memory is completely gone. Just by hearing the name of Krishna or saying the name of Krishna, then one comes directly in contact with Krishna. One's previous sinful reactions are destroyed, and one is firmly situated on the path of devotional service. And this can be done by chanting the names of Krishna. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which I referred to before, says that the primary process in the Kali Yuga and the process through which you can destroy any amount of the accumulation of what's causing us any distress in this world, the darkness caused by forgetting Krishna, that darkness will be lifted. If you're using the metaphor of a knot, the knot can be cut by the process of chanting Hare Krishna. So that's our primary practice here. And this is what our founder and Acharya, or the teacher who's brought these tenets of bhakti yoga to the world, to the light in the world, did when he came to America with the mission of giving people the opportunity to take this direct process of seeing and being with God. And that is chanting Hare Krishna. He did it in a park in New York City because he wanted a double-blind study. He figured he'd come to a pristine place to start the experiment where no one had ever done it before. So no contaminated site, petri dish fully sterilized. He started in a park in New York City by himself with the simplest of implements, just a little rhythm instrument, and he kept the rhythm going for a couple hours every day, and he chanted the mantra, which is a prayer to God, and it's also God's names. And just by doing that, people began to gather around. And you see pictures from these days in New York City, circa 1965, 1966. And after a while, people spontaneously began to dance. Why do you think that is? Because they were hearing and chanting the name of Krishna, and the reactions to previous karmic activities, V-karmic activities that were in their heart, the darkness that was there, it just naturally cleared up. And sometimes people ask, well, how do you know when you're coming in contact with a genuine spiritual process? And my question to you is, how do you know when you're hungry? I was thinking about that today because I was hungry for a little while. And I was wondering how I knew I was hungry. Do you all know when you're hungry? How did you know? Did somebody fly in and tell you? Most things you just know. And when you come directly in contact with Krishna through his name, he reveals himself. And somebody said, how do you know you're directly in contact? You just know. Similarly, someone may say, how do you know when the sun came up? Well, it's kind of obvious because there's light. And it's kind of obvious to us too, all of us, when we chant God's names, there's light. The light comes on. But there's more happening. You know, when you go out in the sun, there's a lot more happening than it just feels warm. There's also vitamin E, I'm told. Right? Vitamin D. There's vitamin D. And there's implications from standing in the sun beyond what we can see by our eyes. And so in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, when you chant Hare Krishna, you may not even see all the effects with your eyes. And that's why one summer, about 6 years ago, I wrote an essay called Sunshine on a Cloudy Day. I know I stole that from a Motown artist who sang a song, I've Got Sunshine on a Cloudy Day. Does anybody know the song? One person. If I sang you some Bollywood, you might know. And the reason I wrote it was because I wanted to make a comparison to the chanting of Hare Krishna and what I experienced in Golden Gate Park. Because we were getting ready for Rath Yatra, and I was helping to set up the booth for books. And because it was a very cloudy day, I didn't wear a hat. And the next day I was severely sunburned. So I looked it up on the internet, even though I knew. I just wanted to confirm, and it said, even on a sunny day, the ultraviolet light comes through, enough to burn a fairly light-skinned American from Lafayette, California. And I thought about the ways Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, even if you don't perceive all the effects you're getting from chanting Hare Krishna right away, just wait and see, because the radiation comes through. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. You don't know this right now, but when you say God's name, so much light is coming through, and it's personal. It's coming directly from Krishna. And so this is the most direct process prescribed by all the greatest spiritual authorities that anyone can take to in Kali Yuga. And I have more good news, and this is the last thing I'll say. And that is that because this age is considered to be very, very bad, that's good. when things are so bad, oftentimes the authorities give a dispensation, like not right now, but oftentimes authorities give a dispensation to the public because they think everyone's so downtrodden, we should just wholesale give everyone the benefit of the doubt and help them out. And that's the way in universal affairs and the way when Krishna brings his message to the world in the process. Kali Yuga is said, Kalim Sabhajiyantyarya Gunagya Sarabargina Yatra Sankirtananeva Sarvaswarto Bilabhite. And that is, wise people know that the worst age is the best. And the worst age is? Yay, Kali Yuga. It says, Kalim Sabhajiyantyarya Gunagya Sarabhagina. If you know what the purpose of life is, you'll know that this is your age. So if you're at all feeling a little glum today, you can cheer up because you landed in the right age at the right time. Just a few minutes after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here and taught this, in geological time, 500 years is nothing. And we're here just absorbing the vibration, and that's what this ISKCON society is. We are following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who just recently taught this with all the authority of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and the disciplic line. So anyone who would take to a spiritual process would do well to investigate Bhakti Yoga and see that you'll get all the benefits available in every other age, from performing huge fire sacrifices or building gigantic temples or sitting in meditation for thousands of years, which today most people can last for 2 seconds because that's the length of a TikTok video. And the brain gets trained on that. It's like, okay, meditate. See if you can make it to 2 seconds. Okay, that's it. But in this age, Harinama, Harinama, Harinam eva kevalam, kalao, nasteva, gatiranya. Because nobody can believe it, that it's that simple. Everyone says, come on, you got to have to at least fast for a fortnight, or at least you have to pierce something, or sit on rocks, or walk across hot coals, or pluck out your eyebrows. There must be something more arduous or complicated that you have to do. So the Shastra says, I'm going to say it 3 times, just so you get it. Harinama, 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 eva kevalam. There's only one process, absolutely positively, and that is chanting the names of God, chanting the names of God, chanting the names of God. That's it. 3 times it says it's so catch our attention. So that's why we're called the Hare Krishna movement, because everyone hears Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that is the direct, concise, completely effective method that anyone from anywhere can take up. And by chanting Hare Krishna 1 time, Hare Krishna, it destroys more of the karmic reactions that you could commit in millions of lifetimes just by 1 time saying Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada brought that process. He taught it in Thompson Square Park. It started from there. It spread all over the world. And now we'd like to see it spread all over, not just Silicon Valley, but the whole Bay Area. Because people are suffering. There are differing views about everything. It's more contentious time than ever in the world, any subject. And people are beleaguered. They're fatigued. They have fatigue from misidentifying themselves with the body. They have fatigue from trying to keep up with all the arguments, trying to figure out just how to survive in the world. And there's relief by chanting Hare Krishna. If you chant Hare Krishna, all the causes of distress within your heart will be obliterated. And that's a lot. Obliteration is a big deal. Once something's obliterated, it's really gone. And it's gone to the root. And Mahaprabhu, I said it was the last thing, and this is just a continuation of the thought, so it's not technically. Mahaprabhu said, in the consideration of karma, it's very much like a plant that grows. And he gave a verse from an ancient scripture called the Padma Purana. That said, Aparabdha palam papam, kutam bijam palonmukam, krame naiva praliyante, Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. This is from the Padma Purana, an authoritative scripture. It said there are many forms of karma. There's a form of karma that hasn't even appeared yet. It's so subtle that you don't even know where it is. Aprarabdha. It hasn't manifested yet, but it's there. And in the commentaries of the previous acharyas, they say, where does aprarabdha come? As a premonition that something bad's going to happen. Just a premonition. Because the whole material world is based on, it goes on based on the reactions to sinful activities. You just have, I feel like something bad's going to happen. Aprarabdha. And then kutam, bijam. There's forms that are almost manifest and start to manifest, and they take a seed form, then they grow from the seed and they become fully manifest. And that cycle, just like in the cycle of any tree that produces seeds and then another tree and more fruits, it goes on and on forever until one can break free from that. And the process of bhakti yoga, it cuts that process. So you become a free, liberated person eternally and break free from the cycle of birth and death in the material world. Ijo des. The end of my talk. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Now, since we have our chorus assembled, and I've been noticing over the last several weeks that this is a really good chorus. When we're chanting together at this time during the week, I hear such a harmony in all the voices. And beyond the harmony, I also have feeling the spiritual earnestness of everybody here in chanting Hare Krishna. So for me, it's been a very powerful and edifying experience having this call and response and singing together the names of Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra. How's it all been for you, those of you who have been here? Not so good? Only a little, it's a little okay? You like it too much? Okay. So let's try. We'll do it. Try to win one for the Gipper. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharane Shunyavani Pashatade Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur. Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Hari Nitai Gaur, Premanande, Steadiness, sankirtan ki, Steadiness mantra ki, Steadiness Prabhu ki, Gaur Premanande. Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Hari Gaur, Nitai Gaur, Hari Gaur. So, one superpower we have here is community, because the world's a very lonely place, and it's possible to be alone in a crowd. And community means there's some common purpose. People's hearts resonate with one another because of that purpose. And One of the main processes of Krishna consciousness is to make friends. And friendships are especially enhanced by 6 activities. One is giving gifts. The other is accepting gifts. Another is giving prasad, spiritual food, and accepting spiritual food. And a third is revealing your mind and hearing others reveal their minds, especially in the context of getting through this one life in one piece. Well, continuing one's practice of chanting Hare Krishna. So what we're going to do now is give everyone a chance to meet somebody you haven't met yet. And sorry if you're an introvert. We'll just take a moment, like 5 minutes, and just find somebody that you don't recognize, or that you do recognize but you have not spoken to before, because we're watching. If you talk to any of your friends, we're going to put a black wristband on you, and then you'll have to stand at the back of the line for prasadam. So take a moment and meet somebody, and if you want an icebreaker, please tell the person you meet one idea you have for helping to expand this Hare Krishna chanting and the movement around the Bay Area. If you have an idea for that or a thought, you can exchange that. Are you ready? Yes. Mark is set, go. Meet somebody you never met before. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. last word about spiritual practice. And consistency is king. Quantity is not so important to begin with, because just as birds fly in the sky's unlimited, there's always further you can go. But if you find consistency in your practice, especially finding some time every day, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, half hour, even 1 minute, that you daily connect with Krishna, especially by chanting Hare Krishna, reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. And you do it like drops a day, because drops a day wear the stone away. And this means coming to what's called nishta, or steadiness. And this is where all the advancement begins in Krishna consciousness, or where it continues at a steady pace that is notable. So remember to take some time every day for Krishna. Don't miss a day and think something else is more important. And when you do that, Krishna will take you seriously. And when Krishna takes you seriously, then your whole life will change and be fully abundant in every way. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please empower all of us here today to help expand this spiritual movement all over the Bay Area and beyond, so it becomes a shining example for the whole world. Thank you very much for considering our request. And everyone consider themselves recruited for the Sankirtan movement. Om Tat Sat. And everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And now we have the best part of our program, which is the Hare Krishna dance party. And that means that we're going to move everything out of your way, including this rug and all the seats. You can put them back away. We'll reassemble here on the dance floor. There will be a harmoniist right in the middle. So just try to make a little space so that the harmoniist and anyone standing behind the harmoniist can have some space to play the instruments. And everyone feel free to move up close towards the altar. And also feel free to put your arms in the air when you chant Hare Krishna. And let all the birds that have anxiety, that have nested in your heart, fly away. We'll see you back here in 2 minutes. Hare Krishna. Thank you. That's all right, it's going that way. Hare. You know the whole thing? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's all you, it's all you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
free to stand or offer obeisances. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Namaste Narashingaya Namaste Narashingaya Prahlada Daine Prahlada Daine Kashi Purvaksha Kashi Purvaksha Sharanam Prapadye. Avakara Kamalavare Naka Adhuta Shringa Dhalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Narahari Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Narahari Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Bhakta Prahlad Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsimhadev ki Prahlad Maharaj ki Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's so wonderful to see you all at today here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Thank you for joining us. So let's give a big round of applause to everyone who has joined us today. Hare 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 Bol. we'll also like to thank all our online devotees as well. So let's give them a big round of applause. Hari 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 Bol. Today's discourse and Krishna Katha and ecstatic Aarti was brought to us by His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. Let's express our gratitude and thank him for the class and the kirtan. Hari 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 Bol. Hari Bol. And the Narsingha Aarti was led by His Grace Adiraj Prabhu. So let's thank him for bringing an ecstatic Aarti. Hari 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 Bol. Anyone coming here for the first time, I see a lot of devotees who have joined us. Vrindavan, always a new timer. Thank you. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. My name is Sri Gopal Das or Hanspriya Mataji. We will be happy to assist you or help you in any questions that you have. Hare Krishna. So let's chant one Mahamantra for all our newcomers. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Also, we like to thank His Grace Charunimai Prabhu for bringing broadcasting of this program. Haribo. So we have one sponsor for tonight's feast. We'd like to invite Ruchira Mataji for sponsoring tonight's feast. Hare Krishna, Ruchira Mataji, thank you for sponsoring. Hari 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 Bol. Would you like to say a few words? I think you've been just started coming for a few weeks or months. Yeah, please, if you have any words to say, please.
Hare Krishna. This is just on the occasion of my birthday, which happened recently. All I pray and wish is, please enjoy the food. This is all from Krishna, it's not from me. And hopefully, like, the only prayer that I ask in return is, may my bhakti towards Krishna increase, and may we always be in service of him. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So what's coming up this week? We have an exciting festival that's coming up. No guesses? Any guess? Okay, all right. So we'll like to invite Her Grace Hanspriya Mataji for telling us what we have exciting this weekend.
Hare Krishna. Who would like more protection? So where are we going to be next Saturday? Here at ISV. So we will begin at 4:30 a.m. in the morning with a Mangla Aarti, and we'll have a nice morning program. And then we will have a services. It's Saturday, right? Most of you can go out on books. Some of you cannot go on books, can go in the kitchen, can help Sri Gopal Prabhu set it up, the parking lot with the festival setup, right? So plan to be here, and you can actually chant all the way to until the Prahlad Maharaj hears your prayers, right? So let's come together and serve together. There's a beautiful services beforehand as well. You can come help out, devotees who do the beautiful decoration. There are many senior Matajis. Actually, they get involved in chopping and prepping. And it is time for everybody else to become resourceful. So please take advantage of becoming resourceful. Ask devotees, we need help cleaning up everything, the windows, the Prabhupada's umbrella. So there's a plenty of service for everyone, including kitchen. If you don't know it outside, you can go help out in the kitchen. And then we will have the decoration Thursday and Friday before the festival on Sunday. So we'll see you on Friday for sure and Saturday for sure. We'll have morning program as well as the evening program. And then the Sunday, it's going to be Mother's Day, but I don't see many mothers in here. But we will announce, okay? We will have the schedule for the Narsingha Chaturdasi as well as the Mother's Day. We'll send it out to you. Hare Krishna. Any question from anyone? Okay. And actually, we are very blessed. This Narsingha Dev actually came on 9/11. And there is a beautiful story, and I would love you to hear Vaisesika Prabhu's lecture from the last year and year before. you can actually get to know how this Nrsimhadeva came. He's very special. Okay, Hare Krishna.
So we will all see you Saturday morning and as well as Saturday evening, right? Or throughout the day, or all day, right? Okay, all right. So today's, I would like to invite Vivan to announce today's cooks. Oh, okay. So before announcing the cooks, we have a Little Krishna Kids Festival that's happening on May 17, right? That is the week after next week. That is on Saturday. So if you have any questions, please reach out to Ananda Mataji. She is in the back. It's a very wonderful festival for kids to participate. There are a lot of activities. Or else you can just come and participate as well. See how the kids are performing, all their activities. So please reach out to Ananda Mataji if you have any questions. And this is in Pleasanton. Okay? Hare Krishna. So Vivan, please announce the cooks for tonight's feast.
Hare Krishna. The cooks for today's meal is Mahendra Prabhu, Raki Mataji, Abhijit Prabhu, Munali Mataji, Meghavi Mataji, Smriti Mataji, Sankit Prabhu, Sandhi Prabhu, Sri Lata Mataji, Akash Prabhu, Pushpa Mataji, Divya Mataji, Mayuri Mataji, Nilacha Prabhu, and Hansapriya Mataji.
Thank you, Vivan. Now we will go to Prasad Seva prayers. Adriraj? Okay. Haribol.
Sharira Vidyaja Jorendriya Taheta Jive Fele Vishaya Sabore Karmadhe Jivayati Lobhamoy Sundurnati Take Jeta Katina Samsare Krishna Bhadodoyamo Kori Dhare Jivaja Swaprasadanna Dhilobha Seyamnamrita Pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dhato Shri Chaitanya Nita Preme Dhato Shri Chaitanya Nita Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Sarva Punyavatam Rajan Vishwasana Gajayate Prasade Sarva Dhukanam Hanirashopajayate Prasanna Krita Soyashu Bhuti Paryavashishta Tetvayopa Bhukta Shaganta Vasulankara Charpita Uchishta Bhuvino Dasa Tavamayam Jayamahi Shuksham Paryushitam Bhapi Nitam Bhadurveshataha Prapti Matrena Bhoktavyam Natra Kala Vicharana Na Desha Niyamastatra Na Kala Niyamastata Praptam Manandrutam Shishte Bhoktavyam Hariratnavi Bhagavad Shri Mahaprasadam Ki. Please come take